Hey everyone and welcome to the channel. This is Scotty with Molan, Labe Film and Photo, and today we're going to go through introducing you to Filmora Pro. I know it's relatively new, and so we're just going to go through and kind of show you how things are. Get you a little introduced to it before you fully delve into either trying it yourself or even purchasing it for that matter. First off, we're going to begin by opening Filmora Pro, and let me move over to the home tab. So this is what you will first see when you open up Filmora Pro. You can either create a new project, open an existing project. As you can see, I have a recent project that I've kind of been playing with, and we'll go ahead and open that one so that you already have the files I want to play with in there. And we'll discard this because I'm going to open what it's considering a new project, so I don't want to save the changes because there's nothing been done to this project. You can just have a couple files that I'm going to play with later. But first we're going to introduce you to this media tab. This is obviously where your media is stored. And currently I have it in preview mode. If I move it over to list mode, it just lists out your media. So whether it's a picture or it's sounds or it's video clips, it just lists them out. I don't like that because you can't really see what it is. You'd have to know what it is up front. I can see it now. I can see what it is. I can see where it needs to go. And I can import more an image sequence, titles, media. If I were to import titles, it lets me pick titles, and I can import that. And then it's added to, and I'll import one. So now it's added to my project, and I can add that to my timeline, and then I can throw my logo after it. Or I can throw my logo on top of it, and now let me shrink this. So we're gonna make this smaller real quick. Oop, too small. Here we go. And then now I can take this, and this is what I made too small. If I were to have text on it, it would show above here, and it would tell me what the title was. But back to the media tab. You can create new folders. So if I want to put my audio into an audio folder, now it's in the audio folder, and I want to take my pictures and I'm going to put it in my picture folder, and titles in the title folder, and we're going to rename it, and we're going to call this images, and we're going to call this one audio. Things of that kind of helps you keep your project organized. You can create a new plane as well, and we're going to do this, and now we have a new plane, and it's really just a blank, essentially just a blank image. But your plane is this right here around my logo. If I were to remove that, this is my plane, so it gives me somewhere else to play with in the video. And next we're going to move into effects. Let me add this back to the timeline. So you have all kinds of effects. You have 360 video effects, you have animation, audio, blurs, lights and flares, particles and simulation, which under that you have like lightning and electricity. So if I wanted to add that, and I'm going to go speed, and then when I move my cursor or the playhead on top of this, you can see I have lightning. So if I were to play that, you see the lightning move. Kind of cool. There's a lot of effects, but as you can see, when I moved and dragged the effect onto my clip, it moves it over to the control tab. So the control tab lets you tweak the way things are within your effects. So you can see effects, then there's lightning and electricity. If I were to come back over here to grunge, and we're going to add film grain as well. Now you can see this clip has both lightning and electricity and film grain. So we're going to make this super grainy. We're going to come over here to lightning and electricity, and we're going to adjust the wave scale super large, so now you can see it super grainy, kind of like an old TV now. I've got a video on creating presets that will be out later, so I'll link that in the description when it gets made, so you can jump over that to see how presets are made. It's really easy and anybody can do it. But now we're going to move over to our text field, and so we're going to create. So text is where this is where you tweak your titles. So you can see I've got my title here, and I can start typing, and you can see it's in black. Well, that's not helpful. So let's move it to green, click OK. Why can't I see that one? There it is. I wasn't over far enough. So now you can see with this one, I'm typing, it's in white because I've got white selected. Didn't want to do that. Let's change it to orange. Oh, now it's transparent. Let's there we go. What is going on? I don't know what's going on. I was doing it in the wrong order. So this is your text color that is going to be typed. Over here you pick the color you want or you use the eyedropper. So we're going to do it in this nice blue color, and then we're going to take our dropper and we're going to come over this, and then now I can start typing in blue or whatever color I choose, or I can change the font type and now, or the font size, and now the font is, now you can see it there. Let me remove one of these. It's kind of in my way. And so we're going to go back to green. We're going to make this font bigger. This would be spacing. Change your font. And then we're going to change it to really tiny. You can drag it left or right and make it bigger, smaller. Whatever you like. Regular font. Font spacing if you want to do multiple lines. Things like that. It's your standard stuff you'll find in like Word. So next we're going to move on to the trimmer. And with the trimmer's kind of cool. You can't really do much with it with photos, but with audio, you can now see I have my entire clip. With that, I can tell it to loop so that I don't have to keep going back and forth. It'll keep looping through the audio. And what this is your set endpoint. So we're going to move a couple of seconds into the clip, and we're going to set the endpoint here. And you can see this went gray. So this is what's unselected now. And now we're going to let the video play out some more. We'll let it go. Okay, so I only want that much. Now we're going to set the out point. And so now you can see the rest of the video is unselected. All I have selected is this little short clip right here. And with that, I'm going to now insert it into the video. And I'm going to insert it a couple times so we have multiple segments so I can show you and give it a little link to the video. And that was inserting. So what inserting is going to do is it's going to place the video with wherever it's at. So if I'm going to come here and let's put our playhead right in between this image, I can insert the clip, and now the audio is placed in between that. If I want it right here and I want it to like overlay with the video, I'm gonna click this set over or overlay clip, and now the clip is where the playhead started, so it's halfway in between where I had it, and now it's moved the rest of the way out for the remaining of the clip. So now I'm gonna have audio with music. And let's turn down the overall master of the audio real quick. And let's see. There we go. Now if I talk, the audio doesn't overplay me. And so that's basically what the trimmer is. And this is your resolution quality, and this is your zoom in function. Super easy stuff for the trimmer. It lets you trim video clips, audio clips. Lets you get really finite. As you can see, it's really blown up. And if I want to zoom it in with a video, it'll let me zoom in. I can choose specifically where I want. Super handy. Next we're going to move on to the viewer, and the viewer is simply just where your timeline is shown, so you can watch your video. And as you can see, let's go to actual something. You have something to look at. As you can, let me mute all my audio. So as you can see, there's nothing here, and then now we're going to get to that clip, and now you can see what I've already created with the effects and my logo, and that it shows you what's on your timeline and where your playhead's at within the video. As you can see, that title has now popped up. We have something in it, went away, and then now we're back to blank because there's nothing in the timeline at this spot. If the audio hadn't have been muted, it would have been playing the audio. Super easy, simple. You have your selection tool, you have your translate. So if we come here to the image again, we'll actually go to the image itself, and then if we click this translate, it'll let us move the clip around. if I use my selection tool, I can rotate the image, I can move it within the X and Y axes like that, and then I can come over here to the transform and I can move the entire thing. So the translate tool lets you move the entire frame, whereas the selection tool lets you adjust what's inside the frame. Same things with your trimmer. This is your loop playback, your set in point, your set out point. You move your playhead back to start, your previous frame, your play pause button, and your next frame. Your options are going to be the color bit depth, show motion path, effects controls, background color, checkerboard background, which usually is a transparent background, so you won't see anything behind it if you were to export the video. Really helpful also when you have to like perfectly align things and you want it on a plane, or you rotated too much, but now you got to get it back flat. It'll give you that nice straight line to edit with and to translate your video so that you're back on that plane. You can set what screen is actually doing it. Your playback quality, so full, half, quarter playback quality, your final or your draft. Pause resolution will show you if it's full, and then your pause quality will be final or draft. And this is just zoom in, so we're going to zoom in really far, or we're going to go back and scale it so I can see everything now that's within that frame. Next we'll move on to the editor, which is kind of the powerhouse of your entire thing. This is where you're going to tweak your video so that's exactly how you want it. And let's get started. So now with the editor, this is where you're going to create your project. So let's start by selecting everything and just cleaning up the timeline, and let's start fresh. So from here we're going to drag and drop our audio clip, and we're going to drag and drop this image a couple times just so we have something. And then, so this is your time sequence. So like this is where you're at in the video. So now I'm at 42 seconds, 13 milliseconds, 2 minutes, 6 seconds. It just kind of shows you where you're at. If you want to go to a specific time and you know where that time's at, you can just type in the time and then go to it. Otherwise you have your undo button, your redo button. So if I undo something, it removed that last action I performed. Redo it, just takes it back. Then you have your selector tool, and this will allow you to move clips. Let me remove this magnet. Drag and drop clips. So if I want to move it here instead, or move it down one more, it just adds audio tracks. Same with the video and images. You can just move it up, move it down, put it where you want it. Next you have your drag tool, which lets you drag in your timeline, so you can drag up and down, left and right. Let me zoom this in a little more. So here's your left and right, and then up and down. You can now see the master, but you can't see audio 1. And we're going to move this back to selection tool. The next tool we have is the slice tool. It's very similar to like hitting Control B to split. You just click it where you want, and then you just split and slice, or I guess it's slice again. Now I've turned this audio clip into 5 clips instead of just 1, and I can go back to the selection tool and I can take those clips and I can move them to different spots. That way I could layer it differently if I wanted to. Layer things together, move things, add different sounds on top of other sounds. Like if you want to do audio on top of voice, then you could stack it and layer it that way. If you wanted to like mix, you could slice and piece things together that way. The next tool is the slip tool. So the slip tool adjusts the in and out points for a clip. So like you can see I moved. It might be kind of hard, but you can see where it starts to fade in. But now if I take the clip, I've now moved where that start point is, so it's somewhere out of the frame, so that won't play. And same with the end, it just adjusts. Basically, it's kind of like the in timeline trimming tool. It's a lot harder to see. I wouldn't recommend doing this too often unless you are familiar and you're just comfortable with it. The next tool is a slide tool. Pretty explanatory. You just slide your clips around. I typically just use the selection tool. The next one is the ripple edit. And what this does is if I take a clip and I push it, it overrides. But if I were to perform the ripple edit, if I push it out, so we push it out in 9 seconds, the rest of the clips get pushed out in 9 seconds as well. And again, it gets that gap in between stays the same, but it pushes the rest of your clips out. With the ripple, not the ripple, the roll edit, it'll actually let you override those. So now I've moved the clip and it keeps pushing the clip but doesn't adjust the timeline. So you can see it's going back and forth, but it won't push the rest of the timeline like the ripple edit does. So now I do it and it keeps it right there. I didn't select the right tool. Yes, it did. And see, it just pushes out because it's together. It's not pushing. The next one is the rate stretch. This just how fast or slow something is. So you bring it in, the faster it plays. The more you bring it out, the slower it is. Pretty simple. Then you got your snapping tool. This one's super helpful when you're trying to, like, you've dragged a bunch of clips in and you want them to stack together, but you don't want them to like overrun like it is here. You can just, it'll snap a red line into it and it'll let you line up different tracks as well. So like video 1, 2, and 3 are all lined up to play right after each other. I could override it so they both play at the same time, but if you're doing multi-lines and you want it to like transition very well or transition smoothly, you'll put all 3 and you can snap them together and then it will play seamlessly instead of you having to do it yourself. And then you have your settings. Settings are just the project settings, basically just what you want the video to be at. I typically like the 1080p 24 seconds because most of the things I film are in 24 frames a second because it's the more cinematic looking feel to a clip, and that's mostly what I record when I actually shoot video. But you can have this do anything. 1080p 2K, which is essentially 1080. I'm not sure what DCI stands for, but then you have your GoPro, your UHD, your 4K, your Instagram quality, rendering. You can have it rendered 8-bit or 16-bit, 18-bit integer and 16-bit float, or 4 times or 8 times anti-aliasing. Whatever you find works for your video and what your personal preference is, really. So the next thing we're talking about is going to be the audio mixer and the meter, which is dealing with audio. So then now we're moving on to audio. You can see you have the mixer, and then I've added the meter panel as well. You really don't need both at the same time, but and you can see them. We'll talk about both at the same time, kind of. As you can see, overwhelming. You can see like the master level. You can see the individual track level, and then the meter is just representing what is currently playing in the master. So master and meter are going to be the same levels, because that's when you get rid of the audio mixer and you leave the meter. That's what you're kind of basing your video off of, is meter. And so if you like notice a spike, it'll go down and you can go back to that clip where you're at. You can adjust the level and see how it plays out with the rest of the video. And we'll get rid of meters. So dealing with the audio mixer, you can see there's one mixer per track, as well as, and so 3 tracks, 3 mixers. And there's the master track as well. And so the master also has it. So you can adjust your mixer. So I want to go -6 here, but I want the overall to be -12. And so we'll bring that up, and we brought this down. So now my tracks will be at -6, but the overall is -12. And you would want to do this if like you have varying sound levels and clips. So you can adjust each clip to be where you want it, and then you can adjust the overall sound of the video to match where you're wanting it to be. So if you want that to be super loud and bright because it's a music video, or you're wanting it to be nice and quiet, or the music to be nice and quiet, but you want the voice to be loud so you hear the voice when you're doing a tutorial or you're doing some sort of vlog, that's why you want to adjust the audio mixer. Next, we'll move on to how you lay out Filmora Pro, because now you have this adjustability of adding different panels, and that's where we're going to continue. So as I was saying, with Filmora Pro, you can adjust how things are laid out with your view tab. You can choose which panels are in, so controls, which is this tab here. Effects would be this tab, controls is this tab, and you could lay those, and that's kind of what that whole tab right there is. Then you have your meters, which is over here on the right side of the screen. You have your trimmer, which is right now combined with the viewer because of the workspace I'm in. I switched workspaces briefly while on pause because I was trying to get something to work out, but when I delete a panel, try to add it back and then move it, Filmora screen capture is crashing, so I'm going to avoid doing that so I can get through the video. And we'll go through scopes and layout when I switch workspaces. So we have the audio workspace, which is what we're in now, which is more focused on the audio, audio effects, audio. Obviously, your timeline's here and your viewer, your mixer and meters are still here. And you can see they moved the trimmer, even though you can switch back to it if need be, but it's probably where most people will sit when editing their sound. We can move over to the color workspace. So you can see we still have the controls tab now. The viewer, the editor moved over, and you have this color scope that you can now adjust, and you can adjust your colors within the video, the parade, waveforms, if you want to use that one. So it's kind of, if you haven't learned anything, you can kind of learn all of them, or if there's something you've already liked because you've used it in a different program, you can do that. Histograms are really good at telling you like where your colors are. You kind of want everything in the middle. If it's too far to one side, it's too dark. Too far to the other side, it's too light. So you want that happy middle to give you a good color profile throughout the entire video. And histograms are something we use a lot in photography as well to kind of get that perfect picture exposure level. But moving on to, we're going to move to editing. So this is where that first panel was, but it's removed the audio mixer because here they're thinking you're going to be doing more editing as opposed to less audio editing, which is what the audio one is for. Our next workspace is going to be effects. So this one's more geared towards the effects, which is why this tab's so much bigger, so that each clip you can work with a bigger space. When you start like stacking effects, I guess I don't have anything selected. Let's go back to here. So I can start adding effects, and you can see the list just keeps on growing. And if I expand these, and then it gets even longer. So that's why it gives you more room. If we move over to the media, you kind of sort through your media, makes this the primary. Lets you see everything like I did the folders earlier in the video. I can collapse and open those or add more to them. And the final workspace is text, and this is going to be with your, so here's your effects. This is where you're really going to like super tweak those intros. So you'll have your intro, and then you'll tweak the colors, the words, the text, where it's at, how it looks, the effects you have applied to that. We're going to actually go back to the editing workflow because that's the one I like to primarily sit on. You can customize it the way you want. You can save a workspace, call it whatever you want. Let's actually add in the audio mixer, which went where? Media effects, layout. So the audio mixer is actually right here. It was underneath the, it was next to media and effects. So I could do this, and I could go save, and I could call everyday use. and then click OK, and then I can go to workspaces, and now I have this everyday use one. Similar to a preset, which I said we have a video for that will link below. But this is a preset for your workspace, so you can customize and tweak it however you want. You can reset it, you can delete workspaces, things of that nature. So guys, that's kind of the crash course into Filmora Pro and your workspace that you'll be using every day when you're using this program, and kind of where things are. I hope you enjoyed the video. We are going to be doing more. We're going to go deeper into the effects and deeper into everything else, and eventually we'll kind of piece everything together, and we'll actually make a video, and we'll kind of piece the tutorial together and make a video for you guys, and you can see a video from start to finish the next time we get enough footage to actually do one, and we'll go through that, and you can see all the tweaks we make and kind of learn as you're always learning. You learn every day. Learn with us, get better with us, and we'll see you next time. And if you like what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that little notification bell so you know the next time we post a video. See y'all later.